We all got secrets.
For all of my straight and bi men listening and my gay and bi women listening, everybody who has sex with women and wants to do better, I've got a product for you. Have you heard of Kenneth Play? He is an Adonis of a man, and he has put together a video course teaching others how to please women the way only he knows how. I have personally had the pleasure of spending an intimate evening with Kenneth. I don't think I've ever had a first-time sexual encounter with somebody that was just 100% pleasurable. There was never a moment of pain. There was never a moment of meh. He knew my body better than I knew my body. He found pleasure spots in me that I did not know I had, and he made me come many times. I have gifted his web course, Beyond Satisfied Pro, to lovers of mine, and in every case, they have become better lovers as a result. And now I would like to gift this to you with a 15% discount. Go to kennethplay.com/closeted. That link gets you 15% off Kenneth's Beyond Satisfied Pro course. This is just for my listeners. Trust me, no one regrets being great in bed, and this course will get you there. kennethplay.com/closeted.
We all got secrets. We all got secrets. We all got secrets. We all got raise a glass and bear your soul. Oven kept in hiding, served with bleach and Molitor. Oven kept we all got secrets.
Welcome back to the ClosetEd Between Seasons interview series, in which I remind you that I and this show exist while I work on season 2. If you're just finding the show for the first time now, don't listen to this. Go back to the beginning. Start with episode 1, which is about Liz, a woman who truly has it all. Beautiful kids, handsome husband, big house in the suburbs, great career, and a sexy hot boyfriend that her husband knows about and is fine with. So go listen to that if you're new. If you have already listened from the beginning and you are here consuming this between seasons content, thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for helping me keep my audience. And thank you, hopefully, for helping me build my audience. I need all the help I can get. This podcasting thing is hard when you are not a celebrity. So thank you so much for your support. This week, I'm bringing you my fascinating conversation with the wonderful and very sexy Kenneth Play. And I am beyond bummed to report that my recorder only captured audio and not video for this one. So if you've been watching on Spotify or YouTube, this one is audio only, which really sucks because I looked really cute that day, and so did Kenneth, and it's just a shame that you're not going to get to see it. There are a couple moments where I'm shamelessly hitting on Kenneth, and you won't be able to see why, as well as a moment where he's demoing a hand motion that won't make a ton of sense without the visuals. I apologize so much. That being said, it's still a dope interview. It's still a dope conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Here it is, Kenneth Play.
Oven kept we all got secrets.
Kenneth Play, welcome to the ClosetEd interview series. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited to talk to you. First of all, you look so sexy. I can't even with you. I have the biggest crush. And people who listen to my show know this because I've been advertising your Beyond Satisfied Pro video course. So let me just introduce you all properly to Kenneth. Kenneth Play is the world's leading expert in how to please women in bed. And you've heard me talk about it on almost every episode of this show. He really knows what he's doing. I've personally experienced it. I am a huge fan. He wrote a book on how to please women in bed, also called Beyond Satisfied. GQ called him the world's greatest sex hacker. Again, I vouch for this man. Kenneth, I am so excited to talk to you today. We're going to hear about your origin story. We're going to hear about your thoughts on sex and sexuality. Maybe we'll talk about, the male loneliness epidemic, because I feel like maybe you have some thoughts on that. But first of all, just hi. Thank you for tuning in from Thailand right now.
Thailand is awesome. I actually did a Taoist sexual praxis retreat for 10 days. I was reconnecting to my heritage and sex hacking and practices from 5,000 years ago. So it's quite interesting for a 10-day retreat. So, yeah.
I want to hear
That's
more
why I'm in
about
Thailand.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to ask you about that later. Okay. But before we get into all of the fun nitty gritty stuff, tell our listeners, how did you become the world's leading expert on pleasing women in bed? Like, how did you get this? How did you become a man who could have his shirt buttoned that low and still be taken seriously? No, don't you dare.
There's no buttons. It just open like that.
No, don't stop being eye candy.
Okay. I think most people want to share what they learn when they struggle with something. And I really struggle a lot with my own sexuality and insecurity, especially growing up as an Asian man in America. Like every small penis joke is on Asian man. And I have an average size penis. And I remember the first time I ever watched any hardcore porn was when I landed on the US at 11, coming from Hong Kong. And it's like, I'm 44 right now, so it's like VHS tape back then. So for you, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, you have no idea what that is. And it was a hardcore gangbang scene with like 10 black guys, 2 white women. And I remember vividly looking at my own package and go like, I don't have one of those. Am I ever going to be enough for women? And ironically, I end up being a sex party person. So I guess the origin story track. But I remember thinking if that's only thing women want is a giant penis, then I don't have one of those. Am I ever going to be enough? And I grew up with such insecurity that in the beginning is all about how can I overcompensate something that I thought I lack? And what was really transformational and truly profound was learning there was never anything wrong with me. I was learning that I was always enough, but at the same time gaining all those skills also really benefited my life. And I just love sharing with people what I learned. I really think your sexual potential has a lot more to do with your ability to learn and up your skill level rather than some inherent trait, because bigger is not always better, right? It's genital size preference is different for everybody. But I think everybody likes to come a lot. So I think having some skill on that is great.
Yes, I love that. So essentially, your origin story is like you get where most men are coming from, feeling too small, feeling not enough, feeling not manly enough. So like what was the process for you? Like how did you, because a lot of guys just give up, or it's easy to become toxic when you feel deeply insecure, and that's for anybody, not just men. What was it about you and your journey that took you in this other direction of, let me just get really good at this?
I really feel for a lot of guys out there. I don't think a lot of men are like born inherently toxic and hate women. But at the same time, when we feel like we're not enough, then we go to this level of self-rejection. And sometimes that self-rejection could turn into hatred and to incel behavior, which obviously I feel very fortunate not to be part of. But at the same time, I have this deep curiosity on what actually works. So in the beginning was like, if I don't have this, what else can I do? And what I realized when I got better at sex was not because I read something sex positive. I went to sex parties randomly and I saw this guy who is not very hot. His package is no bigger than mine, looking kind of nerdy with this high-pitched voice. But there was this line of women lining up for him, and he made all of them squirt and have crazy orgasm, and I witnessed this. And I was like, holy shit, like what just happened? I thought the special effect team was involved. So like how does this guy become their like favorite ride on the amusement park? So when he was finished, he was smoking a cigarette outside. So I went up to him and go like, oh my God, how did you just do that? Like, what just happened? And then he's like, if I have to tell you, I have to kill you. Like, he wouldn't tell me in the beginning. What? So I was like a good karate kid and just went up to him and go like, how did you do it? And he said, okay, first of all, if you could give a woman an experience she never had before, she cannot get it from anyone else, then you become her best ever. That was his like line to begin with. But it really all comes down to technique. So he started showing me some techniques about how to move my fingers, where to touch, how to touch it. Then I became that guy at parties because I learned this one trick. And what was really funny about learning that one trick is that I realized that the worst thing you could actually be is just be a one trick pony in bed. So I got this one trick. If it did not work, then I think like she's broken or I'm broken. It's like this whole thing. And from actually getting really frustrated with only learning one trick, I went down this path I'm still on in Thailand, learning all the best sex techniques from around the world. And it became a mini quest that is all about looking at sex like cooking. There's a recipe been passing down for different cultures to make things delicious. And there's science and cultural art form that we've been passing down from different culture, from India to shibari from Japan to BDSM. I would say mostly come from the French first, to the vibrator from the Victorian era from the English, to there's a lot of African art on squirting, cooking yofu as well. So I just became nerd obsessed about learning different techniques and skills and kind of bring it all together.
What was that word you just used about the African squirting technique? What was that word?
It's called kinyofu, if I'm not butchering the pronunciation. Is mostly about squirting first, and then the Taoist technique, which is like thousands of years old, like 5,000, also started with like give her clitoral orgasm, then make her squirt. Not that I'm saying those beliefs are give and take, right? Because there's no one right way, to have sex, but they're just different recipe that got passed down, but they have a lot of similarity between culture, which is very surprising when you look at it from that angle.
I don't think I've ever really appreciated the fact that just like we have cultural heritage for cooking and lots of other things like, making tools and whatever, that we also have that for sex. I don't think people like think of that or talk about that. That's so cool. Yeah. Okay. So you're a scholar, you're a gentleman and a scholar. That first trick you learned, was it like the normal, like put your fingers in and do the come hither movement, or what was it?
And then I realized that is not the best way to do it. So given my nerdiness, I start like having this like Excel spreadsheet tracking which technique works for who and why it worked. Then I developed my own signature technique, which has worked like 98% of the time now, most of the time. So, and then it just went down this rabbit hole and figure out what actually makes it work. Because, when you cook something, you could follow a recipe, but you're not exactly a chef yet. Like you have to learn cooking. So you have to learn chemistry, you have to learn tools and everything. So I started with one recipe, which worked a lot. And then I expanded and became a chef because, you actually need to learn cooking. You need to learn the different type of proteins you could have, texture, taste, like sweet, salty, acid, like then it became more principle. Yeah.
This is a good metaphor because like when you're cooking, you're also dealing with different ovens, different stoves, which have different idiosyncrasies and
and and also like you have one ingredient like an egg, right? There's so many different recipes to make the egg delicious, and you could totally fuck up an egg at the same time to make it very disgusting and terrible, right? Very easily. So there's art and science when it comes to making an egg, and I really treat sex like here's the art and science of making sex as delicious as possible, but it also has to calibrate to that individual preference. So let's just say if you love a sunny side up or a ramen egg, right? It's very different than you like a hard-boiled egg or you like a scramble. There's no which egg is better, it's just personal preference, So I love figuring out how people like the eggs. And on top of it, I like to serve them a recipe they never had before. They didn't know they like it. And then that blows their mind. Yeah.
Do you have any specific stories you can share, like without naming names, but of that happening?
I named the book Beyond Satisfied because I realized that there's a science to satisfaction. Well, actually, there's two definitions. One is that is sweeter after difficulty. So doing something challenging and then overcoming, or it's quite satisfied. The second thing about satisfaction is, or beyond satisfied is, one day you're going to walk into a restaurant and you taste like the best steak you ever had. And that experience will re-index your whole list of what food could be. or what a steak could taste like. So the idea of Beyond Satisfied is able to give people an experience that they know is possible, right? And they didn't know it could feel this good, and something new and novel. So I became obsessed with this idea. That's why the book is named that way, to give people an experience they didn't know. They didn't even know that exists, and then it tastes really good. So that's why it's fun to give people new experiences. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I'm looking for like a specific sex story, because you get around Kenneth play. You,
Yeah.
you have, as far as I know, you have a wife, and I love your pictures. But you also have like a lot of other partners. You guys are very openly polyamorous and non-monogamous. So yeah, like, could you tell
I
us
have
a
juicy
sex story?
stories. Yeah, there's
Tell
so
us
many
a juicy
stories.
story.
Let me think of one that is really recent.
And take
I
your
mean,
time, because I can
okay.
edit out a long pause.
Yeah. So, okay, anal sex. Usually people who, let's just say this particular lover wasn't into it because she started off like with not so good experience with anal sex and never liked it. But she's also curious. And there's this really fun technique, and it makes a great clip for your podcast. It's called the windshield wiper, which is in my book. You basically put your finger in. So imagine this is the clitoris, and then I'm putting my finger in, but I'm going below. So I'm not hitting the G-spot. I'm going below, and I'm swiping like this, and the cervix is right here. So I'm swiping right underneath. Where those nerve lies is similar to anal penetration. So if that partner respond to that region, it most likely will respond to anal sex as well. There's also a pro tip when you do that. If you feel something there, that means that night is not good for anal, because there is bullet in the chamber. So it does double. Yeah. It serves a double purpose.
It allows you to find out if a woman might enjoy anal sex, but also if it's not a good time right now.
If it was clear for anal or not, right?
You did this to me, Kenneth. Yeah. You did that to me. You did that to me. You were like, oh, you would like anal sex? And I was like, what are you talking about? I've only done it once, and I don't know that I like it. And you're like, no, you responded
I didn't want to blow up you. I didn't want to, but yeah, I want to find a reference that you might have.
No, I'm all about very transparent sharing on this show.
Yeah. Got it. So that technique is a great technique to see if someone is responsive to those nerve ending. And then once I discover, I go like, okay, so and I have a couple of sequence or technique that I like to use for people who have, that's just not so great anal sex, or there's this psychological barrier, right? Do I feel clean? Do I feel good? And there's a whole lot of like, will I poop on you? So what I usually do, I check so I know that we're good. Second thing is that I invited her to take a shower with me. So I wash her, and then I wash her butt. So she feels really clean. Then I licked her ass in the shower. So that overcome all the psychological worrying, right? Because you cleaned it, I licked it, like it's okay, right? So that builds comfort and trust. And the second thing is that when you negotiate anal sex, I think it's really important that it doesn't have to be involve my penis, because most people think anal sex is I have to fuck your ass. I'm totally happy to. I want to, but it doesn't have to. She's really comfortable with the idea of anal sex. It doesn't have to be my penis. It could be just my finger. So the second trick is in the shower, finger in, soapy finger with a waterproof vibrator. So, and because orgasm first, right? Because clit very responsive for that partner with a finger inside. So now is like perfectly primed for anal sex. And then given that, so after that experience, we went back to the bedroom, and she probably had one of the most like intense like anal orgasm, because when it hits right for the right person with the right nerve ending, it really takes you to a different place. And, you know, if I ever die and come back, I would love to be a female, because you girls have so much fun.
Do you think that women have more fun sexual instruments than men in general? Like, do you think that there's a huge difference there?
There's a huge difference when it comes to multiple orgasm by default, because your brain is less sensitive to prolactin release, so you don't have a refractory period. You could go to like this rolling orgasm, extended orgasm, orgasmic trance state that women could tap into. Is like little psychedelic-ish. And the training that I just did in Thailand from Mantak Chia about the Tao is that men could access too, but it just require a lot of training. So it's a lot of effort to get to the point where you could separate the process of ejaculation from the subjective experience of orgasm. And it's all about how to move this energy, as in moving your nervous system. So you skip the prostate contraction, right? So you skip the ejaculation part, but you could build up your arousal. So men could have those multiple orgasms too.
Yeah.
It's just so much easier for women. Unfortunately, sex is so misunderstood that like most women end up not having an orgasm, right? Because it's overly focused on penetrative sex depending on your body. So, but their pleasure potential for women, I would say, is much higher. Men do have the potential, but it requires a lot of training to separate that out.
So is this a different school of thought than what we all think of when we think of delaying orgasm for men, which is Tantra?
It's similar. It's similar. Both are trying to achieve non-ejaculatory orgasm, but you have the subjective experience of orgasm, meaning also orgasm by definition is what you experience in your brain, not necessarily your genital. So you're just trying to skip the process and diminish the male sex drive and able to have those like multiple, like stimulate your brain instead of just that part, which is fascinating. I have taken Tantra and that practice, but this brings it to a whole new level. And it's just so, like, if you love cooking, you just learn, like, this is how the Chinese love to cook. You know, I've learned from like India, oh, this is how they like to do it, right? But it just, same, but different. I'm trying to achieve.
Did you get anywhere for yourself with like achieving that, you know, psychedelic orgasm state?
I would say that I am mediocre at it, like still in the infancy stage of this training. So I could experience some non-ejaculatory orgasm, but not to the point that where I see God like over and over again and like a dependable, reliable. But I would say that it takes, you know, coming from a fitness background, I would say that it takes like 3 months of like solid work. There's also not just like training your prostate, your PC muscle, but the neuromuscular training or the like the idea of sensitizing, because it's a part of your body that you don't feel much often, you don't stimulate. And it does not require any anal entry, by the way. You just like working your PC muscle to squeeze on your prostate internally, do contraction and mindfulness. Ooh. But you have to sensitize that part of your brain and learn how to balance your flight or flight with your rest and digest, which is one part. The yin part is in charge of arousal, which you have to be relaxed and feeling safe to be aroused. And the other part is in charge of orgasm, the flight or flight part. So you kind of like balancing those two energy, which is fascinating on how some culture managed to figure this out like thousands of years ago. I guess they have nothing better to do back in the day. Nothing. They don't have a cell phone to like
they didn't have
doom
streaming
scroll,
services.
So, so they could like practice a lot, but it required some effort, I would say. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had one guest on the show who was also an Asian man who started out life feeling like really not good enough and like is now just a total sexual master and deviant and wonderful. But he was his title of his episode was "What's the hottest orgasm you can get?" And I think that's a mindset that you definitely have that a lot of people don't really have. It makes me think about, I talk a lot about patriarchal sex. Patriarchal sex is all about the man ejaculating, but it's not necessarily about pleasure for anybody. It's definitely not about women's pleasure, but I don't even think it's really about men's pleasure because patriarchal sex is so homophobic in nature. So we completely forget about things like how to manipulate the prostate to give men a really intense orgasm. And I'm interested in your thoughts on this because you're, you know, an expert on pleasing women. I think a lot though about the fact that like you exist and there are other people who are very obsessed with teaching men how to please women. I don't see a ton of people out there trying to teach women how to better please men or men how to better please themselves. Do you have thoughts on this? Like, do you see an imbalance there?
Totally. I mean, male sexuality, looking from like a very basic bro lens, is always about teaching men how to get bigger, harder, and last longer. That's the only thing they really show. Like from dick pills to pumps to everything is in that. So we feel that our sexual prowess only has to do with equipment and how hard and how long we could last. Not necessarily the net positive pleasure from both party. And also male arousal, I think we oversimplify it in the way that like, if there's sex available, we should be able to enjoy it. And a lot of times I would think that men are like masturbating on top of women. It just become like orifice. So what's really different about at least what the Taoists believe is about connecting, like the union between the two people, and really connecting to have like multi-orgasmic couple and take you to like magical sex plays, like a psychedelic experience that two people could enjoy. And there's actually some interesting science around that. The word is called entrainment. It's a fancy way of feeling in flow. Like when you take some magical substance and you're at Burning Man on the dance floor and there's a moment where you feel like everything's synchronized.
I've never been to Burning Man.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You've been to
But
a
I know
great
what you mean.
party. Yeah.
Like a spiritual experience, collective with others, usually music is
You're in
involved.
group flow. Yeah, you're in group flow. So that part of our brain is also in charge of multiple orgasmic trance state. So a lot of the practice is about synchronizing two people, because when you sync with another person, that's truly a whole nother level of sex. So we're talking about like connection, right? Connection in the rhythm of the universe is really magic.
I think that's what makes you so special, Kenneth. Like, people get this idea that if you, A, care a lot about being good at sex, and B, have a lot of sexual partners, there's only one person that you could be, and that is a fuckboy or a slut. And people assume that having a lot of sex with a lot of different people means that connection's not important to you. You are a living example of the complete opposite. In order to have sex with a lot of people and have it actually be pleasurable for everybody, connection is paramount. It is the most important thing. You're a master at connection, not just at yes, you have all these techniques that you can teach, and that's great. But if a guy came into my life with like a lot of techniques, but couldn't see me as a human being, the techniques will do nothing. It's the attunement and the attention to the actual human that you're dealing with that makes what you do so special.
I mean, it requires a very deep emotional connection and intimacy to truly tap into that, because that's when both people feel seen and safe, right? Which is a prerequisite to ecstasy. So in order to do that, you have to be able to connect with people. And I really think a lot of people are afraid of intimacy because they believe it sends the wrong signal. Like, if I care for you, that means I want to wife you up, or we want to have like a long-term monogamous relationship. So we avoid intimacy or like connection. Like, soon as the person comes, I feel like, oh, I should call you Uber, because we don't want to catch feeling like a disease.
Right.
However, I do believe that even with the most casual of sex, intimacy should be available if both parties wants that. I mean, it's okay when people don't want intimacy. They just want glory hole experience, which is what turns them on, right? For some people, that's like what they really prefer. But I think most people would find some level of intimacy and just general basic kindness. Like, I care for you, you care for me. We're doing a partner social dance for even an evening could blend in a level of emotional intimacy that makes like everyone feels good afterward. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder, this idea that if you are truly open to intimacy with a person, but even in a casual hookup, that means something. It means like you want more. We talk about the relationship escalator in the world of polyamory, which, for anybody who hasn't heard that before, is the idea that there is a
a steady progression of going from dating to sex to living with each other to getting married and having kids and being together forever. And saying I love you sets that escalator off. Boom. You're done. Your life is over. And I think that's why everybody's so scared of it, because it's like this lifelong commitment has to come with real intimacy in bed, but it doesn't. And this is one of the ways I see the monogamous paradigm kind of screwing us all over and making us very lonely, because we think we can only be intimate with people that we're ready to hitch our wagon to. What are your thoughts on that? How did you get around that? Like, so many people are trapped in this way of thinking and think that is just basic reality. It's human nature. There's no other way. How did you subvert all that for yourself?
Well, like on the science part, some people are more susceptible to falling in love, like catching feelings. Some people just catch it no matter how, like, if they should fall in love with this person. What is the xoxo girl said? Like, what's good for the whole might not be good for the soul. Like, I think that's her line.
Pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
So there's some, the strategy to prevent too much intimacy so you don't fall in love randomly with the wrong person. It is a smart move, because some people, when they have very intense sex and people are really nice to them, it's hard, like it triggers those like chemical response. I think my friend Leah wrote an amazing book called Hook Up Without Heartbreak. Highly recommended on all the strategy for some people to manage that part, especially for women who want to have more casual sex but don't want the downfall of that. So there's some good science around that. However, personally, I think your ability to negotiate and communicate is extremely important. So even in the most like casual of sex, I say, hey, I'm a very affectionate and intimate person. You know, is it okay for us to be like this for those one night? Also, I'm very public, so it makes it easier. Hey, I have a wife. Now we have a daughter. My wife has a husband. I have a girlfriend. So I do pre-communicate my availability. And when I do send someone, I actually reject the sex quite often when I realize that the potential for this person to even have one experience without like the heartbreak part, I avoid those heartbreak. And there's something that I have to learn. So if it's not good for the soul, I'd rather not do it. But for people who are able to handle it and could do it and have it, I think it's a person to person. Some people, I do not recommend a lot of casual sex because it's not easy, right? Because if you're the person who fall in love very easily, I don't recommend that. Or you learn some strategy from that book, Hook Up Without Heartbreak. I think it's something that there's no one answer. Like, is casual sex always good? It depends on the individual. However, I think communication is key, and there's know where your ethics are. Like, some people don't meant to lead people on, but they end up doing it and they make it all about that other person's responsibility. I don't think that's fair either. So I think both parties needs to take some responsibility on that,
I love that you said that, because I have experienced I've had a lot of male friends who hooked up a lot, and they were really nice people. They were kind to the women they hooked up with, but they would keep hooking up with a woman even though they knew she was hoping it would turn into more, and they knew it never would. And they'd be like, what? I told her. She's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, is she fine though? Because I feel like she's crying. I
learned that the hard way and with a lot of shame, because do
you have a story? Could you tell us a personal story about how you learned it the hard way? Do you feel comfortable? You don't have to. You can say no.
I don't want to give too much detail because I want to respect the privacy of that person, and that person, someone who I really care about. I think it's immature for me to say that, like, here's my boundary, knowing that it's not what she wants. Right? No matter how I talk about it and how I choose to manage it, I know it causes pain. And I could have been the person who's more responsible and stopped it. And I have chosen not to. And I regret not doing that. And it's very painful. So I hope my own mistake will encourage the listener to take a higher role and go, like, if it does not serve, if the relationship is not a net positive, I think ending it is a smart thing to do and a more ethical and responsible thing to do.
I love that. I love that. It's holding somebody even when, oh gosh, we think that if you are interested in sleeping with someone, but not interested in taking the relationship up the escalator, that means you just don't care about them. And so all bets are off. And what you're saying is you can care about somebody enough to end a casual relationship, because what's casual for you isn't necessarily casual for them. That's so caring.
It depends on what both party actually desire. If there's alignment, So now I only date people who, Karen and I have been together for a really long time, and Geronimo, my brother husband, she has two, and I have a very serious girlfriend right now too. But the reason I'm dating her is that she's very clear about my relationship structure, right? And she does not want to replace. There's no replacement. There's no oh, Kenneth is more available because of this. I date her specifically because what I have to offer and what my availabilities are is her preference. So I stopped doing it the other way. And she's equal. She has my personality. So we match that way, on the dating front. And sometimes if people want casual sex, go to a sex party. It's the best for casual sex, because it's this is where casual sex happens in the most, yeah.
Are you willing to talk more about your relationships? I feel like a lot of people would be very interested to know. Okay, so first of all, listeners, if you go to Kenneth's Instagram, you'll see that he and Karen and Geronimo, his wife and brother husband, respectively, did a pregnancy photo shoot. And they did both NSFW shots and, well, almost. They were sort of soft, naughty.
Yeah, and sexy, yeah.
Yeah, sexy and totally wholesome, normie shots. And first of all, that is my dream, #relationship goals. You are living my dream life. Well, actually, no, Karen is living my dream life. I want to be Karen. But I feel like a lot of people see that and they're like, oh, that can't be real. Those guys must be at each other's throats. They don't really value her, or she doesn't really value them. And this must be toxic in some way. But I know from hanging out with you guys, it is not. It is so healthy, and there's so much communication and boundaries. And I'd love, if you're comfortable, for you to speak about sort of the journey getting there. Have there been, really difficult moments you had to move through? Was it hard for you to bring in a girlfriend? Does everybody have other partners? How does it all work? So many questions.
Well, I don't want, when people look at other people's Instagram, myself included, is this idealized version of the world. And to me, no matter what relationship that I'm in or people are in, there will be challenges. There's trade-off and ups and downs, like everybody else. It is not easy to, we don't have a manual on having a brother husband on top of everything, right? And I met him at a random
Maybe you could write it.
Yeah. Where we're DPing not Karen, double penetration. I go oh, you might like my girlfriend. And I introduced them. And now, we have a kid together. And one big factor in why this relationship all kind of came together is Geronimo wants to be a dad yesterday. Karen was thinking about having baby. I'm on team free bird, digital nomad life. And it creates a lot of conflict. And I don't experience a lot of sexual jealousy, but I would say that when they decided, I'd seen how compatible they are, at least with this family life. That was the only time that I really felt jealous and struggle with envies. I wish I was more compatible with her. And my Chinese mom, I love her to death. Happy birthday, Mom. It was 2 days ago.
Oh, happy birthday, Kenneth's mom.
Yeah. She's a pretty traditional Chinese woman, but people from Hong Kong love to make fun of each other and burn. So she said to me, literally, "You're a fucking whore. She's a doctor. Give her a baby." Jokingly. But then she knows, hey, if you really don't want a kid, then it's not a great move. I go I don't want a kid enough personally, but what I realize is when our daughter's name is Apple, and it's not my biological child, it's a biological child, but she's my daughter. And what I get to have is have grandparents' privilege, volunteer only parenting. At the same time, I get a taste of family life and a taste of parenthood in this like 3 household, and we're still learning how to negotiate it. The hotel room that I'm in, I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary with Karen 2 days ago, and I surprised her with like flowers and rose petal on the bed and stuff like that. So we're still trying to, navigate. And she flew all the way here with our daughter, Apple, all the way to Thailand. She's only 4 months old.
I was wondering if she brought the baby.
Yeah,
wow, this baby's going to travel the whole world by the time she's 5.
We flew in her great aunt, to help us babysit when I did the Taoist class with Karen too. So it's one way to celebrate. But I think I would say my romantic relationship life is kind of different and strange and interesting to people. However, I just think of it as trade-off. We're just trying to figure out how to make it work and negotiate. And Karen too, having both of us takes a lot of energy from her. So she have to balance, loving now a little one to love on top of it. So it's great on one end, it's challenging on another, but it's totally worth it is what I would say.
What would you say to a guy who was like, I could never share my woman with another man like that, and like all live together and they like, what would you say to a guy who's just like that is so far removed from anything that I think of as even possible? Like, you're basically an alien to me. How would you break down why it works and how it works for somebody coming from that perspective?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong if someone who prefer monogamy and don't want to share, but I think there is trade-off, because the difference for me between non-monogamy and monogamy is monogamy, you want to hide your desire for other people so your partner don't experience any of that pain, right? So you hide your desire for other people. So imagine I'm monogamous with my wife. I would never share with her that I find you very attractive and I want to fuck you.
Right. You hide.
To spare her. I hide it,
desire.
right? So I hide my desire. So I have to deal with that pain of repressing and suppressing that. I think most people want to have sex with more than one person, but it is a choice that I get to make, right? Is that the type of relationship structure? In non-monogamy or poly, in whatever format that people practice, we decided to deal with our jealousy, right? And our security being a little bit unstable and feel that pain. So our partner gets to have some freedom. And I do not think either system is better. So is it better to be monogamous or non-monogamous? Actually, I prefer flexibility between the two systems, because now I'm on my 10-year anniversary with Karen. I'm with a bunch of people, but I'm pretty much on full monogamy mode while I'm with her in Thailand, because I want to celebrate her. So it's just because I'm slutty. So I'm happy to pay the price of monogamy for like 4 hours, 4 weeks, 4 months, just not lifetime. So I think having some flexibility, but for the people who have, very susceptible personality trait wise to jealousy, to like highly anxious, then monogamy might work better. Then you might want to deal with the pain of freedom so you could have more security. So I don't know. I think it's very individual. But however, I don't think if men, like most men would judge me, how can you let your wife have a baby with another man and like all that stuff?
Yeah.
I honestly, I personally don't look at it that way. I celebrate the amount of freedom I actually have. I get to have all the sexual adventure I get to have. I have the love and security, the right amount that I desire from Karen, and the longevity and this future, I'm like growing my life partner forever. I get to have the forever feeling and the stability. That's what I actually crave with that relationship. And I also have my freedom too. So how can I say you shouldn't have that freedom when I want to have that freedom? Although you could be highly jealous and highly slutty for some people. So that is a bitch to manage. But
I know, I've known people like that. I've known people like that who ended up finding their way into a very copacetic don't ask, don't tell. But after years of both partners in the marriage cheating, hiding it, and then getting caught, huge ruptures. And then finally, after people calm down, an honest conversation like, I love you, but I don't just want to have sex with you. I love you, and I don't just want to have sex with you. fine, let's just do it and not tell each other.
Yeah.
And then
That's what
it
I
worked.
mean flexibility, because if you have like one rule set for the entire relationship, quite difficult. So I think there's periods of time that you could do the like what amount like on this spectrum that do somebody like, I think that's a better framework to think about it. But that requires a lot of understanding, communication skill, right? And know your preference. And I
emotional
struggle
maturity.
that crazy with Karen because for a long time, I love being on your podcast because I could share all my shame.
Yeah,
Like
share your shame.
I was way more of a fuckboy, like I would say in my 30s and in my 40s right now. So I would always emphasize my freedom over her need for security. It's only till I became more mature that I learned from her that she taught me really well. So, I take no credit on this growth. Really, Karen was the one who taught me how to be able to respect her feeling while being slutty. Like, she wants to be a queen and she deserves every right to because she had been my queen. And I need to honor that. And it's times that, and my life from being a co-founder of Hacienda, one of the biggest, best sex party in New York City. I might go to a party, like random dance party, and there's someone that I slept with like 2 nights ago, and then she went to the bathroom and this girl jumped on my lap, and then she came back and she's like, what the fuck, I'm on a date with you. And I realized at that moment, what I needed to do is to tell that girl, hey, I'm really attracted to you and appreciate you, but I'm on a date with my wife. And sometime I need to learn to say that in front of my wife. So she knows that there is priority and there is hierarchy and priority in those situations. And for her to feel that. And before, I did not have those skills. So thank you, Karen, for teaching me that.
So there were times when you did the absolute wrong thing.
Oh, I'm just go like, oh, I didn't do anything. They just jumped on my lap.
It's not my fault. It wasn't me.
Yeah. But I didn't understand.
Having proper boundaries.
I didn't understand that. And I go like, and I don't experience the same level of like needs and jealousy. If I go out with her on a date and then she found someone that she wants to like hook up forever, I would be like, just go. But that's just how I'm built. I can't use my own personal reference as how I should treat her. So I think that is another really big understanding, because I can just like think how experience the world only through my lens. I have to respect her individual need. And what I love about her is she's reasonable enough, right? And we're both reasonable enough that we could like kind of navigate and negotiate, what's the right amount.
When you say reasonable enough, you mean like, she's not losing her shit on you. She's having a conversation. What do you mean by that?
Meaning that I could count on her to like talk about it in a way, and it's not always easy. It could be a lot of butting head, but we could figure out a solution together that honors both of our need without making things more extreme. Because it's like either absolute freedom. I've seen so many people like so afraid to lose their freedom at all costs, and it's not worth it, brothers. Like sometime, like losing some freedom sometime is okay, right? And sometime it's okay to lose a little bit of security so your partner grabs some freedom. But I was on the extreme side, on that side, and it's not smart. So I learned to have that flexibility.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was going to ask you this question, but I think you just kind of answered it. I was going to ask, you've put so much time into learning how to get better at sex. Did you also have to put a bunch of time and effort into getting better at emotional maturity and communication in order to make all of this work? And it kind of sounds like, because you see women as people and listen and are willing to like
my favorite people,
and like it's, but I'm still going to ask that question. Have you put in a lot of time and effort to like bettering yourself as an emotionally mature human, or is that something that's happened as a natural result of taking on these really challenging relationship styles?
I think a little bit of both. I would say I was pretty fortunate and lucky that my baseline emotional intelligence, I would say that it was like pretty high to begin with. Like feel like I've always been very empathetic, feeling people's feeling. But I think learning how to navigate the complexity of two individuals right? Like you have always you're like, and now 3 people is even more complicated with me, Geronimo, and Karen. But I think learning about myself and not only look at the world through my own lens when it comes to those principles, like, if I'm poly, I should be able to fuck anyone I want. That's not the right way to think about it. And I think that comes from maturity more than anything. And then boundary is necessary for a healthy relationship to happen. But flexibility, adaptability is also really important. So I would say the byproduct or side effect of doing this work and able to connect with more people, and very fortunate, I've been a very fortunate human that I had so many amazing lover in my own life, like just the sheer quantity of people from my professional life to the party life to my own sex life, that I have to learn how to be better, because it's not sustainable being a dick.
There's a lot of dicks out there would probably disagree, but I like your way of doing things a lot better.
They have to go from one city to another. That's what those people have to do. Like, it's not very sustainable.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to jump from community to community because, back in the day, yeah. So I think if you want to have a good sex life and if you're someone who like resonate being as slutty as I am, then learning how to be a really good human. And sometimes you have to pay a price. You might not want to do something. It's like working out. You don't feel like working out all the time, but working out is good for you. I think having virtue and having principle always work out. Integrity is always sexy. So, and I'm talking from someone who I don't think I'm on a high horse. I fucked up enough to share this with you,
Oh, that's a great place to end this interview, Kenneth. Thank you for that mic drop. Where do you want people to check you out? What do you want people to look at right now? What's exciting in your world at this moment?
Check me out at kennethplay.com, where you go to find all my stuff. Also check me out on Instagram. I am so fascinated with studying different cultural sexual practices. So 2026, I'm going to continue to do all kinds of training everywhere. I'm going to go to the Kinsey Institute to do a whole thing. And I just came back from Thailand doing the Tao training. I'm probably going to go to India. I'm just going to travel the world and learn what I'm learning and share it live as I develop more interesting recipe on how to be awesome in bed. And if you're curious on how to unlock your full sexual potential, and for guys who love to please their partner, check me out. And for ladies, I actually get so many female clients. I was always so surprised in the beginning because they have found my work to be the easiest to share with their partner so they could enjoy, better sex together. I don't teach from this place where I'm like teaching you how to fuck, because you obviously know your partners better than I would. However, I'm just sharing cooking principle so you could share a better meal with each other. I don't turn you into fuck like me. I'm telling, I help people develop the best version of themselves. Yeah.
Thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. This has been tremendous. I just adore you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you.
We all got secrets. We all got secrets.
I just love him. Okay, so you can get 15% off his Beyond Satisfied Pro video course, which I highly recommend for anyone who wants to wow women in bed, at kennethplay.com/closeted. Next week, I'm bringing you a wildly rambling conversation with comedian Billy Procida, host of the Man Whore podcast and the Naked Comedy Show, which, if you're in New York City, has a show tomorrow night, January 8th in Brooklyn. Get tickets now at manwhorepod.com. If you haven't already, please rate and review the show. It helps so much. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok at samia.mounts. The show is on Instagram at Closeted with Samia. That's it from me for now. See you next week, pinecones. Stay saucy.
We all got secrets.
Hear that? That's what's called green noise. I'd never even heard of green noise before I discovered the Better Sleep app. Now I can't imagine my life without it. As a long-suffering insomniac and a person with ADHD, hello racing thoughts, Better Sleep has changed my life. Green noise is proven to soothe the mind, improving both relaxation and focus. So whether I need to fall asleep fast or settle in for some focused work, the Better Sleep app has my back, and I'm not alone. Better Sleep has over 65 million downloads. It's been featured in the New York Times, Forbes, and Today, and is an Apple App Store editor's choice. And green noise is just the beginning. The app has dozens of relaxing sounds you can mix together in different combinations depending on your needs. Here's the best part. You can try it for free for 30 whole days with the link bettersleep.com/closeted. That's right. You can get a whole month of great sleep for free. For real, this app is the only reason I'm functioning right now. I used to be so tired. Go try it. bettersleep.com/closeted.